Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Organized Chaos Stories with Shabana. I'm your host, Shabana Knight. I'm so glad you're here. I cannot believe it's March. Today was Spring Forward, a little daylight savings time, and also International Women's Day. Shout out to all my amazing women friends near and far. I just got off a Zoom call of a group that I'm in called the Expansion Room. They are running a free 7-day trial. It's a spiritual alignment and business focused group. I joined this online community back in January and absolutely love it. The coach on there is Jennifer Liss. My link for the group is in the show notes. Use it, try the 7-day free trial, and if you like it, stay. It's $27 a month and worth all of it, and it's less than $7 a week. There are always replays, and it is such a supportive One Fire community for practical business tools and spiritual growth. Even if you're not spiritual, you will just feel better being in this amazing community. And then onto the show. Okay, so this week's episode, I was hesitant to air because, yes, it is another episode where I am interviewed. And well, I did have that internal fear of what if my audience is sick of hearing my story. Well, I realized just like no two snowflakes are the same, no two interviews have ever been the same, and always bring out different parts of my story. And I know every time I release a podcast, the hope is someone new will be listening and or another part of my story will be uncovered and it will hit a different way. So I was like, I'm going to share this interview because it was powerful as I re-listened to it a few times before posting it. I got the honor and privilege to be on Pam Sandrock's podcast, No Knockouts. Life will knock you down, but not knock you out. I hope you enjoy this episode and have an amazing weekend. Week. Love to you all. Know that I believe in you and cheering you on. Enjoy this episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the No Knockouts podcast. I just recorded a conversation with a lovely lady. Her name is Shabana Knight, and she was openly sharing about her adoption story. And it's a pretty incredible story. And we finished recording and we got all the way to the end, and we were talking off camera after we had stopped recording. And I was like, wait a second, you should have shared this during the episode. So we decided to hit record again and record an additional 5 to 10 minutes or so. And that is added on at the very end of this episode. So once it's all done and complete, stay for a few more minutes and listen to her talk about her birthday, which is a pretty interesting story. So stay tuned. This is episode number 42, Shabana Knight on Organized Chaos, a magical life after adoption. Welcome to No Knockouts. I'm Pam, your host. We all get knocked down, but you don't have to get knocked out. Let's build resilience and go on this journey together as we navigate life, explore fulfillment beyond being comfortable, and transform ourselves and our life into what we really want. Pull up a chair, buckle up, or put on those headphones, and let's do this. Shabana Knight, thanks for joining me on the No Knockouts podcast. Can you start out by introducing yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Pam, for having me. My name is Shabana Knight, like Pam just said. I am from the Pacific Northwest. I am a mother. I have 3 teenagers. I have been married for 18 years, and I'm an adoptee from India, but we'll get into my story in a little bit. I also have a big heart for cleaning and decluttering. That's my part-time job, along with many other things that we will dive into in this episode, I'm sure.
Yeah, I love having you on. I do want to say that you have a podcast called Organized Chaos. And tell me a little bit about that. How do you come up with stories? Are they based on your personal life? Are they based on your decluttering and cleaning? Tell me more about that real quick.
Yes. I just launched my podcast back in September. It's called Organized Chaos Stories with Shabana. And it was one of those things where I just have always wanted to have a podcast, and I just kept on dragging my feet. And then I finally did it. And then it's all about just one of those podcasts that you can just listen to weekly, where you just want to feel inspired. They're just little short stories of my life. and they're just encouraging and motivating. They're true stories. The ones I release on Mondays, they're called Manifesting Mondays. And they're just literally just things that I have manifested. There was this one, for example, one of the stories where we had moved into the house that we're still living in now. And I really wanted like new carpet and new paint, and like our budget would not allow it. And then literally a couple months later, my husband was on a business trip and our toilet like overflowed while we were sleeping. And then it turns out that our insurance company ended up paying for like our whole house to get remodeled completely. And so I got my new paint and new carpet, and the house got completely redone. So it's one of those things that it's just seeing all these desires that I have put out and have watched manifest through my life and put into story form. It's pretty amazing. And then the other stories are more like just different downloads that I get that I put into my podcast, or interviews that I've been on other people's shows or people I've had on my show that are inspiring and uplifting. So
yeah, I find it really interesting. And I dove into your podcast a few weeks back, and one of the ones I stumbled upon, which is really interesting, it's number 23. And your title is about not staying small and following the fun. But at the very beginning of that episode, you talk about being adopted. And I just find it really interesting. I know I know people in my life who have been adopted, but I don't even know their stories. Like, I just know they're adopted. And you kind of dive into yours a little bit. Would you mind sharing some of that?
yeah, of course. Like, I love my story so much. Like, I okay, so I'll just start from the
Yeah.
beginning, but
Wherever you're comfortable. And
yeah.
I don't want you to share something that's, off limits, but whatever you're comfortable bringing to the table, it is just really interesting.
Yeah, I think every adoption story is so unique and so amazing and so transformative when we let those parts of us be shown when we're comfortable. I mean, so my story starts in India. I am 2 years old. It's a busy train station. I'm with my brother. My brother's 2 years older than me. So I'm two, he's 4 years old. And it's a busy train station, like I said. And we look around and we realize there's no guardian with us. And a police officer finds us. And he also gathers that there's no guardian with us. And he puts us in an orphanage. And we're in an orphanage for about a year and a half. And then eventually we get adopted out. And we grow up on the East Coast in the same family. And then eventually, I graduate from high school. I go to school in Texas, eventually meet my husband, and then we end up getting married. Now we live in Washington State because that's where he's from. And then last year at this time, I ended up going back to India and like seeing my culture and seeing the orphanage where I was from. And it was just this like big healing journey that a couple years ago that I had fundraised for, and just all these different things, and all of it was just amazing. And so I've done a lot of healing and soul work and processing through it all. Yeah, that's like
Okay, so let me stop there because let me get this all right, because this is a lot to absorb. You and your brother, you're 2 years old, he's 4. You've apparently been dropped off in a train station, right?
We were at a train station.
You were at a train station. You don't even know how you got there.
Yeah.
But a policeman does whatever he does, and you end up in an orphanage. Correct? And you live for about a year in that orphanage. And you have an adoptive set of parents that are here, that are in Texas. Is that correct?
No, Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore. Okay.
So it's an international adoption.
Okay.
So we come to the U.S. and we grew up on the East Coast, and then grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. And then after high school, I end up going to school in Texas.
Okay.
And then meeting my husband, and then he's from Washington State. And then now I've been here for 18 plus years. So
do you remember coming to the United States? You were very young. Our memories aren't going to be great.
So we have we have like the pictures of like when we arrived at JFK Airport, and there's like a picture of me like trying to struggle. Like my adoptive mom is like, "Hey, you gotta like put a coat on," because we arrived at January 4th, 1989, and we're exhausted and tired, like jet lag, and like we've never seen like winter coats before, and we're like putting it on, and we're giving like they gave us stuffed animals and stuff like that as like welcome gifts and stuff like that. And so we have like those pictures, and they had kept the Christmas tree up. So like the first pictures of us being home is me and my brother like sleeping on the couch, and like there's the tree lit in the background and stuff like that. So there's all these like picture memories that we have, but no, I don't like remember.
How did you and your brother get here? Did you have a guardian type person fly you
Yeah.
across?
So one of our like caregivers from India flew over with us, and then like met my parents in the airport kind of thing, exchanged whatever paperwork and exchanged us over, and that
And you
was
moved
it
on
kind of
with
thing.
life. Yeah, you got handed over in an airport.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
what are some of your earliest memories? Because it's you and your brother and a mom and a dad, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What are
Correct.
some of your early memories? Because that's all you know, right? It's very
Yeah.
normal for you.
Uh-huh. A lot of it is, I mean, at the time, my dad had one of those really old school, big like VHS recorders, like the black ones. So we have a lot of like childhood memories like that way. So I mean, they were so happy. Like I had my Barbie dolls. We shared a bedroom. We had like our twin beds and stuff like that. We had lots of friends. We lived in we. My mom still lives in the house that we grew up in. So we have like the row homes and the sidewalks, and we rode our bikes, and we had lots of friends, and it was a very happy childhood.
Hmm.
Like, my dad would work, my mom stayed home. It was honestly like your picture perfect childhood.
It sounds like it.
Like,
It sounds like, the
yeah,
American dream kind of thing.
exactly.
So,
Like,
when did you first realize you were adopted? Was this something they told you about early or later?
honestly, I don't remember, but I don't remember it ever being a problem. Like it was just one of those things. Like even in kindergarten, like I knew like my mom was not my skin color kind of thing, but it never like she's always been my mom. I like there's always been like this is my mom. I love her. She loves me. There's never been like, oh, my adopted parents have always loved us unconditionally, nonstop from the start. And even when we were in the orphanage, there was always like, they would always write letters to us and building that relationship and stuff like that. So there was always that connection and that love and that commitment there from a very, like, ever since the beginning. Um,
I have chills. I have chills. The amount of love and gratitude I bet they have for y'all is just tremendous.
yes,
So,
they're amazing people.
I bet they are.
Yeah.
So, and you said you just went back to India this past
Yep.
year? Okay.
Yeah. So
Was that your first time ever?
So I did go back when I think I was like 20, but it was for like a church group. It was like a missions organization type of thing. And it wasn't the right area, and it wasn't like for me. It was just like a church thing. But this was the first time I would say I went back for me. It was for like I went with me and my friend and two other like family friends, and then we joined a tour group. We went for 10 days, and then at the end of the trip the four of us flew down to Pune where the orphanage was, and then spent the night at the hotel, and then the next morning we got like a taxi kind of thing, and then went to the orphanage and spent like 2 to 3 hours there, saw it, and then at the end I got to sit with the assistant director for like an hour, just the two of us, and oh my gosh, it was just so amazing. She's just like, tell me everything, tell me about your life, and she just sat with me, and I just was crying and crying and crying, and then I just got to tell her about my life. And then we had to go. Oh no, we had lunch there. They served us lunch. And then we had to go and get our stuff and fly back to the US kind of thing. So it was a whirlwind, but it was so healing and I felt so complete. And I'm like, I'm good. Like,
Yeah, that's what I
I'm
was
good.
wondering. Like what I mean, I can imagine, but I don't want to assume too much. Like why did you go back? What were the unanswered questions? What felt open in you that you were hoping to get like answers or closure for? What was that drive?
Yeah. So back in, I think it was 2017, there was a movie that came out called Lion, and it was about a boy that was Indian, who was at a train station. He gets separated from his brother. He ends up in an orphanage. He gets adopted out, and then in his 20s, he is having all these like feelings and sensations, and he's like, oh my gosh, I need to go back and see my culture. And in real life, he ends up actually finding his mom. And when I saw that movie, I was like, this movie is like a 90% match to my story. And I was like, I have to go back. I have to do that. So that movie triggered in me my story. And I started fundraising and saving money, and I saved like $10,000 to make this trip happen. Then COVID hit, and then, well, everything was shut down and life was lifing, and I had like all this money in the bank waiting for me to go on this trip. And then at this point, I had everything except I didn't have anybody to go with. And so I just literally started like asking everybody that I knew. I was like, do you want to come to India with me? Do you want to come to India with me? And everyone's like, you're crazy. But like it was, it's a huge commitment to ask someone to spend a bunch of money to come on this soul journey with you. And then some family friends were like, we'll consider it. And so they ended up coming, and it was just amazing. And they helped me with all the details, because the details and that stuff is not in my wheelhouse. It just was amazing how everything manifested and fell into place with that. And then I had a good friend come with me who was like, yes, I've always wanted to go. And she was my roommate on the trip, and how that all fell into place. And it was just like, oh my gosh, we're actually going. This is actually happening. And how well the orphanage wanted to communicate and wanted us to come and stuff like that. And then at the end of the trip, when we got back, we gave like $3,000 back to the orphanage. So it's just like, anyway, so I think the desire came from the movie, but it also was seeing how little that boy was in the movie, because he was about the same age as me and my brother were when he was separated from his family at the train station. And then at the time, my kids were that age. And so I was like, how does this happen? And what the heck? And then just thinking like I was that age, and how are just all of it.
Like how do you even absorb it?
Yeah. And like all the things we know of just how trauma is stored in the body, and like processing it, and like all this stuff I've carried for so long, it's like in my mind I'm like, if I don't get there, I'm going to continue. Like obviously you can release trauma without actually going to the place and releasing it, but I knew for me, like I needed to go there to smell it, to see it, to feel it, to release it. And I knew that was my like next best step. And so I just had to do it.
So what did you release? What did you let go?
Oh my gosh. I feel like stepping into the orphanage and seeing everything, I feel like I just released years of like guilt and shame and abandonment, and like layers and layers and layers of lots of like fear and anxiety and hurt and shame and rejection. I think a rejection was a huge release. Um, a lot of like feeling unloved and unwanted. And I know that my parents did, whether it was on purpose or not on purpose or whatever happened, and we got separated from our family, whatever. But obviously our actions leave scars on people. And I will always love my family, my birth family. But it doesn't mean it wasn't painful, and it doesn't mean Anyway, so just choosing to just let go of whatever stories I believed, and just reclaiming that I am powerful and I can stand on my story and not be stuck in the victim mindset and stuff. And I feel like I lost like 10 pounds just being in the orphanage of just like crying my eyes out.
Yeah, as I sit here and listen to you, I so many things are coming to mind. One, like I'm so proud of you in
Thank you.
so many ways. Like one, just being open and public about it. Two, being honest with yourself to know what you need and to just acknowledge all those words that you said. You know, your fear, your abandonment, your rejection, just acknowledging that is a task in itself. And then
Yeah.
doing something about it. The follow up is sometimes just as hard as the acknowledgement. And I guess I'm just proud of your brutal honesty because that's what it took, you know?
Yeah.
And then after you were done, as you were closing those doors, leaving the orphanage on the
Yeah.
plane ride home, whatever that is, were you proud of yourself?
I was so proud of myself. I was like, I like can't believe we did that. Like I had my friends with me, but at the same time I was like, I did this. I've been wanting to do this for like 5+ years, and it finally happened, and it was so much completion and relief. And I didn't know, like, when I first had planned everything, I was like, I want to find my family. I want to do this. I want to do that. But after just being at the orphanage and releasing all the things I've released and connecting with the lady and seeing everything, I was like, that's enough. Like, I am completely complete. Like, I don't have any more questions. I don't have any more desires. Like, I'm complete, and this is enough, kind of thing.
It sounds like if I'm what I'm hearing from you is you were one, you know, you healed through that, but it feels like you can really progress forward in life now. It feels like this was baggage
Yes.
that was holding you from yourself. No one was holding you back. It was what you were carrying. Is this
Yes.
accurate?
Absolutely. I have thrived so much in the last year. It's absolutely wild. Like just starting a podcast, I my like friend life and social life has exploded. I feel like my kids are doing amazing. My marriage is doing so much better. Like it's this massive ripple effect of, and also just trusting myself more and like increasing money, making money and stuff like that, and like my creativity and my energy. Like it's amazing when we let go of the things we're holding on to. Like,
Yeah, a lot of time, you know, this is the No Knockouts podcast and I'm rooted in resilience. You know, I talk a lot about coming back and committing to rise.
yes.
And I feel like often we have to crumble and fall apart
Mm,
in order to
yes.
come back together.
To rebuild.
And I don't want to label you as being broken or fallen apart, but you had to go back to the rubble. You know, there was
Absolutely.
a site of disaster. That's
Hmm.
not the right word. There was a site of things not complete. You know,
Yeah.
there was rubble and you had to go back there in order to rebuild and like you said reclaim yourself.
Yeah.
So you're more
Absolutely.
energized, right? You're more
Mhm.
energized to be in your own truth.
But I mean, if you think about like anything, like when you want to like rebuild a house or rebuild anything, like the school up the road is 40 years old, and this summer they're finally gonna knock the whole thing down and like build this new, beautiful new middle school. But you have to like completely demolish it and remove everything to rebuild. Like some, and literally, I just turned 40 like recently, kind of thing. And so it's like it's just, you know, leveling it all out and rebuilding. Like you have to. You have to
It's
trust.
like new
Yeah.
chapter, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, new chapter,
Exactly.
let's turn the page, let's get going here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
you're from right now you live in Washington, but you grew up in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
How did you meet your husband?
So I did a year of community college because originally I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. And then when I did my year of community college to do like my basic to get my like AA degree and stuff like that, I was like, this is too much. I just don't even like school. Like, this is just too much. And so I ended up doing a year-long internship program in like Bible classes and stuff like that down in Texas. And the first year, you're actually not, you weren't allowed to date. It was like very like strict rules and stuff like that. So no dating, no secular music, and a bunch of other rules I don't really remember. So the first year was that, and then the second year you were allowed to date if you stay on leadership. And so I stayed on leadership, and I had a bunch of like previous relationships before that, and so the first year I really like got clear on my like relationship with God and what I believed in and what I wanted in a future husband and relationship and stuff like that. So I had told God, I was like, when I like see the person I'm going to marry, like, you have to tell me, like, this is the person I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. I don't want to like joke around anymore. I want commitment. And so my friend's like, hey, I'm going to the airport. Do you want to come with me? I have to drop my friend off and then we can hang out for the day. I said, sure. So she comes to my door and she has this other person with her, not the person she's taking to the airport. And she's like, oh, this is my friend David. He works with us. I'm like, oh, hi. And I was so annoyed. I was like, who is this kid? And then we go to the airport, we drop off the other friend, and then it's the three of us hanging out and like at, at lunchtime. And she's like on the phone raising support. And I'm sitting across from this person, and God's like, oh, this is the person you're going to marry. And I'm like, oh, no. He's from Washington State. That's too far away. But he was like really cute. And I had always thought that like church boys were like ugly for some reason. And like, and I was like, he's really cute. He has a great personality. And I was like, kind of like, oh, okay, maybe. Um, and then I don't know. I just decided that I wouldn't like pursue him, and that if he really was the one, that he would like eventually ask me out, and I would just like be patient. And so eventually he asked me out.
And it worked.
And it worked.
It worked. Y'all
Yes.
did y'all lived in separate places though?
Yeah. So by the time he did ask me out, we were on our third year of leadership. So I was up in Minnesota opening up the sister campus, and he was still in Texas. So we had an 11-month courtship. Um, so it was like long distance phone call and snail mail and all that old fashioned stuff. Yeah. So that was good because he had read a book from Joshua Harris called I Kissed Dating Goodbye. And if your listeners don't know what that is, it's like a commitment to like abstinence and purity. And he like took that to the extreme, and he was just like, hey, just so you know, like, I really feel like God is saying like no physical touch at all until we make it to the altar, like no holding hands, like nothing. I was
Wow.
like, uh, okay. If you like feel strongly about this, like, I'm gonna support you and love you, you know. Well, I didn't use the word love, but I was just like, I'm gonna support you through this. So the first time we like held hands and did everything was like on our wedding day at the altar in front of everyone. I was like, oh my God, I can actually like touch you and hold your hand. Like, that was amazing. And everything else that day. So that was really good and worth the wait kind of thing. And then like, of course, a couple months later, I was pregnant right away, obviously. Um, so that, that made life very challenging very quick. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, what are we doing? But
That's really interesting. That takes me back to you said snail mail and how you used to have to call like
yeah,
long distance or after hours so it was
yeah,
free. All of that.
yeah,
It just takes me back.
yeah,
So organized chaos.
yes.
Tell me a little more about this. How did you get into the decluttering? Because I love to declutter. I love
Do you?
organizing. I do. I'm fixing
Yeah,
to clean out my closet later today, probably, because
yeah,
it's hot
fun.
here. We're turning from winter to summer real quick. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so is that just fun for you?
It's both. So, um, when we when we first moved into okay, so we got married, and then with having the three kids, and I had originally like wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, I ended up going down the route of always working in daycares and stuff like that so I could bring the kids with me. So one of the last daycares I was at, one of my coworkers was like, Shabana, like, you're really healthy. Will you help me to lose weight? So I encouraged her and stuff like that. And by encouraging her, she lost like 40 pounds in like a healthy, safe amount of time. And I was like, oh my gosh, it seems like if I actually got certified and was a personal trainer, I could actually do this. So then we moved into this house, and then I end up being a personal trainer, and that's like an amazing story in itself. This podcast is sponsored by Happy Mail. I created Happy Mail for when you don't have the words, Happy Mail does. Happy Mail sends handwritten cards of encouragement that uplift, comfort, and reminds everyone they matter. Happy Mail is better than a McDonald's Happy Meal, spreading kindness, not calories. Click the link in the show notes and get your Happy Mail sent ASAP, limited to U.S. residents only. And then after I become a personal trainer, I end up becoming a house cleaner, and I help people start decluttering and organizing. And that's like another story that like I manifested and stuff like that. It's just something everything just keeps weaving, and my life is just so magical. I can't get over it. So that's just another thing. And so now I offer to my clients that I will like get on a plane and stay at your house for 2 to 3 days and help you like declutter your house kind of thing. So I have lots of different avenues where I love and serve and support people through many things.
To me, it comes more natural to me. But yeah. Do you find some people just don't really know how to do it, or they can't decide about it? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Tell me more about that, because like to me, I'm like, I don't want this, I'm getting rid of it. You know, it's just clear cut to me, but people aren't.
Yeah. And I think that's why there's a whole like organization and profession and a whole like business out there that people like I said, like that's my job, where I come to your house and help you declutter and organize, not you per se, but because that muscle hasn't been built yet in them, because they grew up in an environment that was so stressful and chaotic and dysfunctional and disorganized. And it really is like, you know, people go to school to be therapists or personal trainers or psychologists or whatever. It's just that muscle that hasn't been used.
So I always think that like when my house is in order, even the smallest things like my drawers or my car, when I'm in order on the outside, I'm more in order on the inside.
100%. And then there's so much psychology behind that, because I feel like I can't even explain it because my brain's like, I guess, disorganized at the moment.
Yeah, but that's hilarious.
That's why like I feel like my podcast is Organized Chaos, because all of my stories are kind of like chaotic, but then I put like an organized like thread through it, like when I wrap it up at the end of my stories and stuff like that. But just order is so important. And so when we're organized on the outside, it reflects the inside. And then when our inside is disorganized, it reflects our outside. So it's like a mirror, just back and forth, back and forth. But a lot of times the wiring isn't, it's like just like yarn all like, or like, you know, the headphone drawer where it's everything's tangled up and stuff like that. And people are just walking around with all this like spaghetti brain like this, and then it's spilled out in their entire house, and they're like, somebody else untangle this, please.
It's mental clutter and physical clutter. They're the same thing, just in a different location.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
then let's taught them how to untangle it.
And some of it's decision making. Like we're so overloaded with having to make decisions in our daily lives. You don't want to come home or spend your weekend deciding, do I want to throw out this pair of shoes? So it just sits. Mm-hmm. But I also think that it is, what would you call it? Like it builds exponentially. Like once you start, it just keeps building and it becomes sort of addictive.
Yes, it does. And it's so freeing. But that's the thing. It's like a lot of times, if you haven't built that muscle, you need that coach there to say, all right, let's do this together. Let's set a timer for 15 minutes and let's get it done. And then you're just helping your client and you're coaching them through. Because a lot of times when I help my clients, it's therapy, it's coaching, it's teaching. And then they feel amazing and you're like, yeah, let's go. Like it's such an exciting process to help them through it. and see them through. Like, it's so transformative.
You said something earlier in the podcast about, or maybe this was before we hit record, but you said
Mm-hmm.
something about how you store things in the body. You store emotions in the body.
Yes.
This,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could tie that to your clutter and your disorganization in your home too, because
Yes.
if you're storing heavy emotions in your body, you definitely don't have the space in your home to deal with it either. And so
Yep.
I feel like symbolically, if you get rid of something sort of meaningful, like I don't want to put a label on something, but like maybe you have an old comforter in your closet that's just sitting there and you're never going to use it, but you like it from years ago.
Yes.
Taking something bigger or meaningful and discarding it
Yeah.
can be symbolic for releasing things from our soul too.
Absolutely.
How do people feel after you get them organized?
Oh my gosh, they feel free, more alive, more energetic. Those are like mainly like the biggest things, and they feel so relieved, and they're so joyful and so happy. And then because I have a minivan, I usually put all the seats down and I'm like, all right, give me all your stuff. And I just load up my van and take it straight to donations. And they're like ecstatic. They're like, this is amazing. And it's always so important to take before and after pictures, because a lot of times people don't. They're like, oh, we won't really see a big difference. I'm like, no, trust me, take before and after pictures. Um, it's like, it's so transformative.
That's what I was fixing to say is transformative.
Yeah.
So, a thread that I've noticed with you, just from our conversation today, is you tend to say yes. You tend to follow because you could have said no so many times to what you have just brought up, all your different things, going to India, meeting your husband, all of the things. You could have said no to your podcast or no to decluttering or all the things, but you have said yes, even when it's chaotic. Is that true? Do you
Absolutely.
relate?
Yes. So I was going to do a post on this earlier this week, but I guess I said no to one thing this week. But so a couple weeks ago, I was like, I want to make more money. And then I walked into a store and the guy goes, who does your social media? And I said, I do. Why do you ask? And he goes, well, I'm looking for someone to run our social media Instagram page. And I said, okay, tell me more. So he's like, well, I just want a couple posts a week, blah, blah, blah. I said, great, let's have a conversation. So then the next week I went in and I had my list of questions, got them answered from him. We had like an actual meeting. And then I like dragged my feet for a week and then made a proposal and had ChatGPT help me a bunch and submitted it. And now I'm their marketing person. I've never done that before.
No
but I'm like,
way.
let's say yes and let's see what happens. So I'm like, I just made my first post last night and I'm like, hey, make that money.
No way.
Yeah. So this is more of me saying yes.
Yeah, this is full of synchronicities. A lot of people would say, and I would too, like some of this stuff is God given. Wow, that's really something. Because you knew this man ahead of time, right? He had seen your posts.
Yeah. So I knew him, but the catch is I wouldn't have gone in if the Amazon Go store didn't close and I didn't have to return something for Amazon Go at his like shipping store.
Oh my gosh. Like you can't make that stuff up.
Yeah.
And your podcast is full of stories like that. So just a little shout out to that podcast. A lot of times on my podcast on No Knockouts, I like to talk about like resilience, and I like to ask my guests what resilience means to them. And we don't have to dive into that, but what kind of things knock you down? Like in resilience, a lot of times people say it's what you bounce back from. Okay. But what kind of things like knock you down?
I don't like when you have to like read too much on like a website where like things aren't clear and it's like all I want to do is fill out the form, but where is the form? Like like I don't like when there's too much information on a website. That like irritates me. Like I'm trying to sign up my kid for something and I cannot find the right link and I'm like I've given up like 4 times. I'm like
yeah, where you have to scroll like 10 times just to get to the bottom. That is frustrating.
and you can't find the link, and you're like, I was supposed to do it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that really, really frustrates me / knocks me out. And I mean, yes, we should pay taxes, but that like whole stuff of like being organized and like, I don't like paperwork and like that type of logistic stuff.
Yeah.
I like physical organization, but I don't like computer organization stuff.
Got
So
it.
like, ugh.
All right. On a daily, how many kids do you have? 3?
I have 3 teenagers.
Oh my gosh, 3 teens. Yeah, that's a rough
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
I'm a little ahead of you. I have 2 college kids.
Oh, nice.
So what do you do to stay strong? Because motherhood alone is hard, much less all the other responsibilities you have. What do you do to stay strong that like keeps you elevated? How do you build yourself up?
I go to Zumba because that's fun. I do that like once a week with my best friend. I like to take naps. Those are fun. But honestly, like this morning, I dropped the kids off at school and I got to go back to sleep for an hour, and then like scheduling fun podcasts like this. I was like, I love my life that I get to just jump on a phone call and record and have like juicy conversations with people. So it's things like this that make me so happy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I love to just sit and have girl talk. I don't, as long as it's deep. I don't like small talk very much. I'd rather go
Agreed.
deep.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we
Sure.
jumped right into your adoption story. How can that?
Right?
Wow. Okay. And then do you have a favorite Bible verse or quote or mantra that like resonates with you or you commonly rely on? Does something stick out to you?
I guess this just popped up. This is on my desk. Um, I love, because of my background, I feel like I struggled a lot with like a poverty mindset. And so a lot of the last, like, I would say 5 to 10 years, I've been really working on my wealth consciousness and my money mantra. And so this one is really good. It says, wealth is my birthright. I'm done playing small. I'm taking my power back and claiming it all. Money, clients, payments, and aligned opportunities find me because my energy is open to receiving it all. And I've been in a lot of like Bible verses and all that stuff. And I feel like a lot is like, oh, like, don't be greedy. And I know that it doesn't, like, I don't know, things like that. But I also, in the church world, I feel like we don't talk enough about, like, I feel like I didn't hear enough of like God's abundance and how having good wealth and stewarding it. And now it's like I want to combine manifestations, God's abundance, and using that to bless myself, my family, and give to charities, and like not live in like a poverty mindset and just more abundance and claiming that.
Yeah, so you're looking to make money and
Yeah.
not hoard it. You're willing to make
Yeah.
other people's lives better too, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So you're saying yes to wealth and abundance.
Yes.
Let's bring it. Let's get it, girl.
Yes.
All right. Before we close, thank you for joining me and sharing your story. I have really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
You're
Tell
welcome.
everybody who's listening how they can find you or connect with you.
I want people to listen to my podcast more. Obviously, again, it's find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other platforms. Again, it's Organized Chaos, Stories with Shabana. And then follow me on Instagram. It's just shabana.night with a K. And send me a message if you want.
Yep, I'm gonna spell that. It's Shabanaknight. So y'all go look for Shabana. Again, thanks for joining me and being a guest on the No Knockouts podcast. And thanks for listening, everybody. Have a no knockouts kind of week, and I will talk to you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
So, do you know anything about your birthday? Like, was all of that recorded with the paperwork that they brought on the plane? Like, how did that go? Because you were just kind of found in a train station. Do you know anything?
Yeah, no. So when the police officer found us and passed us over to the orphanage, they basically, when we got to the orphanage, they you get your physical by the doctor, and they have that on record. So they basically just looked at our teeth, and going off of our teeth, they guessed our age, and they just gave us a birthday when we arrived at the orphanage. So I just got the day that, like the day after we arrived, whatever that date was, which was September 22nd, 1984. So that placed me at 2 years old. So those were our, like, you have to have birthdays for legal documents and purposes and stuff like that. So those were our given birthdays at the orphanage. And then last year I went to the Bloom retreat. Okay, this is kind of, okay, I have to back up a little bit.
Okay.
So last year in February, I went to India. And at the time, I had gained some extra weight prior to that trip, and my wedding ring did not fit. And so I had been wearing just like a simple ring because I wanted to wear a ring when I travel and stuff like that. And we end up going to this fancy jewelry store, and I was like, I'm not buying anything because this stuff is really expensive, and I've already spent a lot of money on this trip. But I'm drawn to this like one ring, and the tour guide's like, no, like, go ahead and buy something, like, you deserve it. I'll help you talk down the price. So he helps me talk down the price, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna buy myself something. So I buy myself this gorgeous ring, like, it's right there.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. And so I buy it. And then I go on the Bloom retreat, and we're talking about human design and everything. And since I don't know my birthday, Alexander Cole, the one facilitating the conversation about human design, is like, just go to the group that sounds most like where you would fit in. And I was like, all right, I sound more like manifesting generator, blah, blah, blah. And then that evening, one of the ladies in the group is like, oh, do you want to go out to dinner and stuff like that? And she could tell that, like, that was a very, like, interesting conversation for me to be having because I didn't have a birthday. And she, like, I think she just had a lot of compassion for me that day because it was a lot of energy and a lot of deep conversation. She was so sweet, but we were talking and stuff like that. And it was through that conversation with her and another lady at the retreat that we kind of just like decided that my birthday, my real birthday, was going to be April 22nd, which is interesting because this ring has 22 diamonds on it, and April birthstone is diamonds, and there's 22 diamonds on this ring. So it's just like so ironic, or whatever we want to say, significant, that this ring represents my chosen birthday that I had just gotten in India. But more recently, which now my husband's like, now you have 3 birthdays. I'm like, I can't explain it, but it is what it is. So do you know what dowsing rods are?
I don't think. Oh, wait. Are those the ones where they point right or left? Yes.
So,
You would, like, it tells you
yeah.
the truth if something is truthful or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Explain a little bit more because you know more than I do.
Okay. So if you've ever played with like a pendulum, you know what those are?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they're like the same thing. So they just conduct energy. So like one way's yes, one way's no.
Okay.
Those are like these things.
Yes.
So, but you just hold them, like the dowsing rods, like you said, you hold them in your hand, but you really have to be like tuned into like God or spirit or whatever. You can't just like use them like flippantly.
It's not like a magic 8 ball.
Yeah, it's not like a magic 8 ball. It's not like a ooh or whatever. But so obviously you can just order them off Amazon. That's where I got them from. But you have to like channel in and be in the right energy and stuff like that before you use them, before you ask them questions and stuff like that. So one day, like in my quiet time or whatever, I was like channeling in and just like talking to like my spirit team and stuff like that. And then I was like, I don't even know what questions I wanted to ask. And they were kind of like, you got to ask better questions kind of thing. I was like, okay. I was like, when's my birthday? And you're supposed to ask yes or no questions. And so I finally was like, was I born in the month of January? Was I born in the month of this? And so I went through the whole calendar, and I finally hit a month. Then I finally went through, all the dates, and I finally got a date. And so then I took that month and that date and that year, and I put it into human design, and I got a time too. I put it into human design, and then I put the chart into ChatGPT to read it for me. And I kid you not, it could not be more accurate. And it wasn't my given birthday or my chosen birthday. It's a new birthday. And I'm so blown away. So apparently my new accurate birthday or whatever is January 16th, 1984, around the time of 7:30 p.m. And like, I'll never know, but like reading this chart is blowing my mind. So it says I'm a generator. I think it's a 6-2, but it would be interesting if I could get Tracy Hill to actually read it for me and like help me. But like as I'm reading it, my mind just keeps like, this could not be more accurate.
Yeah, let me butt in here and say Tracy Hill is a specialist in human design, and I did have her on my podcast a while back. I can't remember the episode right now, but I'll link to it in my show notes. And she also has her own podcast called A Beautiful Fix. So if you don't know what human design is, I really, really suggest that you learn a lot about it. It has told me so much about myself, and obviously it has you too. So did you say you're a generator?
Yes. And so like some of the things, it's like build, create, sustain, master things over time, light up when you're doing the things you love. And then this is also like, you're not meant to chase clients, force launches, initiate from the mind. And like, just all these things are so on point. Like, I just.
Yeah, I agree. I would have, when you look at human design, or at least this is my experience, I thought I was something. I thought I labeled myself as one of the types, and then I put in my actual birthday and all the information, and I was not that at all. I wouldn't have picked what I was, what it labeled me as. But then when I dove down deep into it, that is exactly who I am. I'm a projector. And, when you go into like, the area the area you thrive in, and all the different energies that you have and what you need to do to be your best self, it is so spot on for me.
Yes.
And so I learned a lot about myself, and it made me accept myself as who I am, as opposed to being like wrong. It's like, oh my gosh, I was made this way. I didn't choose this. I'm made this way.
It's such validation and healing and like acknowledgement. It's like, oh.
Yeah. So what birthday are you going to celebrate going forward?
Oh, all of them.
Miss Happy Birthday Queen.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can party year round. We can make up a birthday every month if you want to.
I guess it literally is like every season. I got my fall birthday, my winter birthday, and my spring birthday.
There you go.
I might as well enjoy it all.
And then hopefully your kids have birthdays in different months, and you're just big celebration.
Yeah, pretty much. They do.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. So it was just really neat. And then I turned it into like an email, and I sent it to my best friend. She like read it all. She's like, this is all you. And then I also realized like, I'm a Capricorn, and I was like reading all that. I was like, this is so me. Like, oh my gosh. Because when I did human design at the retreat, I got manifesting generator, and I was like, oh yeah, this is me. But now reading the generator one, I'm like, oh no, this is more me. Like, it's so interesting.
It is. Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for sharing that.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Thank you so much for listening to Organized Chaos, Stories with Shabana. If you love this episode as much as I did, hit that subscribe button, leave an outstanding review, and share it with a friend who needs some inspiration. Thank you for being part of this community. Remember, in every bit of chaos, there is always a story waiting to emerge. Who knows, maybe sharing your story might inspire others to share theirs. The possibilities are endless. Let's live in the possibilities.